So as a preliminary matter, this is Stephen Chambers, Vice Chair of Auburn Planning Board. Please permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ron Brooks. Todd Kareem.
Present.
Barakesh Neelam.
Present.
Myself, town officials and employees participating. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Town Planner Adam Menard.
Here.
Staff Assistant Rachel Pressey.
Here.
Introductions. Good evening. This is the opening meeting of the Town of Auburn Planning Board for September 14th, 2021. Now called to order at 7 p.m. This meeting is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and extended on June 16, 2021. For this meeting, the Planning Board is convening in person and by remote access. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, call 1-312-757-3121 and enter access code 133-747-477. Or the public can join via computer at gotomeeting.com/join/133747477. The remote access information has been posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that is recording tonight's meeting? No? Okay. Accordingly, the members of the Planning Board, employees, and members of the public who participate remotely, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Please take care not to share your screen, your computer, anything that you may broadcast may be captured by this recording. Please rise and a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All supporting materials have been provided to the members of the body, are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. All right. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of this meeting and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Vice Chair of the Board, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the Vice Chair will go down the line of the members, inviting each of them by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to speak clearly and into the microphone in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. I'd like to remind the audience, applicants, town administration, and each planning board member to please refrain from asking questions in regard to all matters discussed this evening without first being granted my consent. Finally, each vote will be taken, and this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. If technical difficulties arise, the Vice Chair will suspend the meeting while attempts to resolve are made. Keep accurate minutes, noting any disconnection and reconnection of the members. All right. First item on our agenda is A&R for Joseph F. Panarelli Jr. for Ellie Way. Is the applicant here? No.
See ya.
You guys have in your packet the A&R plan. Is any, Barakesh, do you have any comments, questions, concerns?
So I just want to confirm, so I think the process-wise, I think after we provide our feedback, then it goes to the city of Worcester.
The city of Worcester, in this case, has already endorsed it.
Has Ron joined? Okay.
I'll just add, it does conform to the zoning is 100 feet of frontage, so if they're going to build in Auburn, they need to meet Auburn zoning, so it does look to meet the 100 feet required frontage, so.
Anything further?
If you're good with it, you can vote to approve, and we can sign after the end of the meeting.
Can someone make a motion?
So I'll move approval, the A&R for Joseph F. Pinarelli.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Duarke?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. It is a vote, and we'll sign after the meeting. Excellent. For the public meeting portion, 7 o'clock applicant JN Realty requesting site plan approval under section 3.2.7.6 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a motor vehicle repair shop at 5 St. Mark Street, Auburn, Mass, map 50, parcel 61. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, roll call vote. All those in favor, Duarke?
Aye.
Aye.
Chambers, aye. Todd, that was Todd, sorry. Excellent. Do we have the applicant here? Excellent. Could you please go to the microphone? At the table, or yeah, at the podium's fine.
Great. Thank you very much and good evening. My name is Patrick McCarty. I'm the president of McCarty Engineering from Leominster. With me this evening is Neil Patrick, who's one of the two trustees of NJ Realty Trust. We're very happy to be back before the board again this evening. As I'm sure you all remember, we were here approximately 2 years ago to obtain site plan approval for the new Patrick Mazda facility that we just finished constructing in February of this year at 189 Washington Street, and we're very proud of the outcome of that. We also were before you for the Volvo Volkswagen project that's under construction now, to wrap up the Volkswagen piece of that in about the next 30 to 45 days. I'm sorry, the Volvo portion, so that they can move their Volvo dealership from Worcester here to Auburn, as was discussed. So they're very happy with the town of Auburn. Mr. Patrick's been here in business for over 25 years, and he's seen growth and success with his businesses. It's now being passed down to the second generation. And as part of that, they have a need for a reconditioning facility. So vehicles that are either taken in trade or purchased at the auction would go to this facility to be cleaned and waxed and detailed and fix any defects with them so that they could be made ready for sale. As we discussed at both hearings for Volvo, Volkswagen, and for Mazda, there's also the need for storage of vehicle inventory. Not right now due to the vehicle shortage of COVID, but in normal operating conditions, the more inventory you can have on your facility, the better, because people want to come to the lot, see the car that they want to purchase, and have it ready to go. So the Patricks identified the property at 5 St. Mark Street that formerly housed the Auburn Sportsplex, which was the dome structure that collapsed in 2014. It's about a 2-acre site located in the General Industrial Zoning District. They purchased the property about, a month and a half ago, Neil? In order to construct this reconditioning facility. So we went through our standard process where we hired Ecotech to go out and delineate the wetlands that are associated with Pondville Pond that's at the top of the page here. Then we had Topper Land Survey go out and complete a full existing conditions and perimeter survey to make sure that we knew where our property lines are. Other important site features is topography, utilities, and all your existing conditions, which is the plan that's here on the easel. Just for reference, I've shaded the footprint of what was the Auburn Sports Complex. The foundation remains. The paved area that's from the front of the building to the street still remains. There's drainage improvements that still remain, and some utility stubs, all of which will be reworked as part of the project. This is now the proposed plan. In the top right corner is a 60 by 100, so a 6,000 square foot proposed building that would be the reconditioning facility. There would be 4 overhead doors, starting from the left-hand side, 4 bays to bring vehicles in for servicing, And in the front right corner would be a small office area, bathroom, break room for the employees. And behind the office area would be parts storage and associated equipment to be used on reconditioning the vehicles. We're proposing to repave, regrade and repave the remainder of the site to construct 149 parking spaces. The use of that would be some spaces, maybe 6 or 8 for employees, some for used vehicles that were either taken in trade or purchased at the auction, and the balance would be for new vehicle inventory that could either be Mazdas that would be going down the street to 189 Washington Street, or Volvo Volkswagens that would be coming up the street to the project currently under construction. The site is really ideal for that location as it's about halfway between the two dealerships, so it would be a good feeder for both of those. As part of the project, we're reconstructing the drainage system to be in full conformance with the Mass Stormwater Management Guidelines. There are 2 underground Cultec systems there now, a smaller one that was associated with the paving area from the Sportsplex, and a larger one that was associated with the rooftop runoff from the Sportsplex. As we're now flip-flopping, we have much less roof area than before and more pavement area than before. We're reassigning the use of those 2 systems, so the larger one will go to our paving area, the smaller one will go to our building area, and we're expanding both accordingly to make sure that they can handle the flows from the proposed development. We are reducing impervious area by about 11,000 square feet. We're pulling the building further away from the pond. We're pulling the edge of curving away from the pond. And if you look at the existing conditions again, you can see that the building used to extend in a finger-like direction to the north, and we've eliminated all impervious area in that area, and that would be loomed and seeded. And in discussions with the Conservation Commission last week, they'd prefer to see that not just a manicured lawn, they'd want to see that kind of revegetate naturally, which we're perfectly fine with. We have no desire to have perfect line stripe grass on that end of the project. We have new water service coming in, Town of Auburn Water, Town of Auburn Sewer, Eversource for gas, and National Grid Electric being proposed. There is a existing precast concrete block retaining wall that's on the right-of-way line of St. Mark Street. The site is, for the most part, lower than St. Mark Street. That retaining wall will remain. And it also runs along our, let's say, western boundary between us and the abutting property that's closer to Route 20. We're proposing some landscape improvements at our entrance, which you can see here on the proposed landscape plan, and also around the building itself, trying to make an improvement over conditions. The dark green shaded area is the existing full growth trees that will remain along the edge of the pond. So we're respecting the Conservation Commission's 25-foot no touch, except in the section where the existing building is within that. So we'll have to do a little bit of work in that area to remove the foundation, grade it off, and then reloom and seed it, so that we'll be pulling further away, but there will be some temporary work within that. So we've submitted to the Conservation Commission. We've had our preliminary hearing with them last week. No major comments or concerns. As is standard for them, they want to have a site walk at some point this week, and then we expect them to act next week when we return to them. The site is also in a Zone 2, and so the motor vehicle repair shop requires a special permit for that use within the district. So we've submitted that application, and we go before the Zoning Board of Appeals this Thursday evening. As is standard practice, the planning board sent the plan set out to Graves Engineering for peer review. We received a comment letter from Jeff Walsh yesterday, and we're very happy with the results of that. As far as zoning bylaw, they have no issues relative to zoning conformance. They reviewed our stormwater calculations and found them to be in order. Compliance with the DEP Stormwater Handbook and standards is reasonable. There was one note change. Comment number 4 is just checking the frequency of the cleaning of stormwater BMPs to make sure that they're in conformance with the manufacturer's specifications. They asked us to slightly extend the erosion control barrier from what's shown here on the western property line, which is fine. There's one typo on sheet 4, drainage summary table. We labeled it as DMH1 refers to CB1 instead of water quality unit 1. It was probably originally just a standard catch basin, and then when we did the TSS removal calcs, we changed that from a standard catch basin to a proprietary storm scepter, and just forgot to change the label. And then on page 19, number 7, Mark Street appears to be a typographic error, and we labeled it as parcel 38 instead of parcel 19. So a couple typos, which we're happy when the comment letter is only down to a couple typos. As much as we go through the plans before we stamp them, you're bound to catch something like that, but we were very pleased with the Gray's review. As I mentioned, the Patricks have made a significant investment in their dealerships, and they're looking forward to continuing their great relationship with the town, and this facility would be ideally situated for them in between two facilities, and we're hoping that the board could support it this evening. Be happy to answer any questions.
What kind of waivers were you requesting?
Let me just double check that. Oh, the landscaping along the frontage requirement, 11.5.6. So that, as I mentioned, there's an existing precast concrete block retaining wall all along our frontage, except where the driveway entrance is proposed. Under existing conditions, it's paved completely up to that retaining wall. You can see on proposed conditions, we added the triangular shaped retaining landscaping area, as well as the island. This kind of thing here is an existing jut out in the retaining wall, and it's paved right to it. So we added this landscape area, but it's not a continuous strip of landscaping along the frontage per 11.5.6. And there's really no alternative to remove that wall as it's holding up St. Mark Street.
So we didn't actually receive the Graves comments back in our packet.
Oh, okay.
So it had to be in before Thursday, so we haven't actually seen their comments, but
Okay.
I'd like to go through and allow everyone an opportunity to make a statement, and we'll have to continue this until we have all the documents.
I have a couple of questions. I think one question is on since this is a recon facility, is there any effect on the traffic, especially on Route 20? Is there going to be more in and out of cars? And so
No, so the majority of the spaces here would be for inventory storage. So they'd get dropped off and they'd stay there until somebody comes in and says, I want a red Passat. And Neil would say, oh, I have one at St. Mark Street, let me go grab it. But for the majority of the parking spaces proposed, those vehicles would just stay there. The reconditioning is like I said, just the ones that are taken in trade or purchased at the auction. Neil, do you have an approximation of how many cars a month you think that is? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I should have.
No, could you repeat it so everyone online can hear it?
Certainly. So Neil, because this is hybrid, we have to speak through the microphone so the folks at home can hear us. But that was Neil Patrick from Patrick Motors, who said that maybe 30 to 40 cars per month total between purchased at the auction and taken in trade would be brought to this facility for the, buff and wax and fix any defects before they're brought back to one of the dealerships for sale.
this might be a question to Adam maybe. When I look at the layout plan, I see the ADA accessible parking stall. Is there a requirement to, for X number of ADA stalls in the lot?
There is. I'd have to double check to the amount of one. If they're having 6 to 8 employees, I think one is about correct, but I can double check on that to make sure.
Yeah, so Adam, just to, go back to that sort of ADA handicap space there, just on the design, I believe the Mass AAB requirement is that if you only have one space, it has to be van accessible.
That's correct.
And the design for van accessible is that the access aisle is actually to the right of the vehicle, because that's typically how the ramps are dropped from the side of the van, and your design has it on the left, so you're just going to have to flip that.
Yes, so that is a van accessible spot. It's 8-foot aisle and 8-foot space.
But
I do not believe that there's a requirement for it to be on the right-hand side or the left-hand side.
you're going to want to check Mass AAB design standards, because
Yep, no, I'm
it is on the
very
right.
familiar with them.
So,
I could and it's a simple flip-flop either
Yep.
way. It's nothing we're opposed to, but I don't believe there's a requirement for one side or the other.
respectfully disagree, but we can check at it for the next meeting.
No problem.
The other question I have, so conservation has not made their decision, has not weighed in, taken a formal vote yet.
That's correct.
The last thing is that, as I'm sure you're familiar with, the town does have a complete streets policy, and that policy does request that the planning board, when we're reviewing these types of projects, to see if there is a way to work with the developers of the projects to look to make improvements on the public way with respect to pedestrian access. So have you given a thought to constructing a sidewalk at least on the boundaries of your property, so that as the street and the community gets more developed and projects come online, that we start creating a more walkable community to meet the goals of that complete streets policy?
I didn't catch the name of the policy.
It's called the Complete Streets Policy, and what it does is it advocates that the town look to, and Adam, you can jump in, with the specifics of it. Essentially, looks to construct the town in a manner that best meets all the abilities of all roadway users, pedestrians, cyclists, motorists.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something, something that we could look at. I don't recall there being any other available sites on St. Mark to develop that we would have this opportunity. I don't think there's any sidewalks currently on St. Mark. It's a pretty industrial area, but I know that it is paved all the way to the top of that retaining wall, so it's outside of the traveled way. So there is currently a paved strip along the front of our site. I don't think I've run across that. Of course, the other two projects that we've recently did in town were on Route 20, which is a state highway, so we wouldn't probably have this same discussion. But it's something we can talk about between now and the next meeting.
On the lighting plan, it shows some foot candles that go beyond the boundaries, and I didn't know if you guys were aware of the 0-foot candles at the boundary line, and I just didn't know what it would take to correct anything that protrudes beyond there. It's not a lot, but just the point ones on the lower left-hand corner of page 7 from your set.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, and I don't believe that the photometric software takes into account the approximate 20-foot grade change between our site and the adjacent site that's above that retaining wall. So I could talk to the lighting consultant and see if we can tweak that to get it to 0.0, but I think that the photometric site where it's looking at a flat surface, and it's not seeing us down here and the abutter up there.
So, yeah, and we're making a decision off the plan, so we'd
you're
like
off
that
the
to be
plan submitted.
reflective.
Sure.
You mentioned car deliveries, and just wondering if you show the loading and unloading. I know car carriers and need to have a place to do that, not on the street. I know you had mentioned that you had a lot of purchased vehicles from auction, but you were also going to use it for vehicle storage from the others. So I'd like to be shown where you're going to load and unload.
Yep. That's intentionally why we didn't strike the interior islands, so that we have the ability to circulate a truck through there. I think for the most part, we're not going to be calling the manufacturer and saying, okay, ship me this truckload to, if they're Volkswagens, we're not going to say ship them to 519 and then ship the next one to 5 St. Mark, because that's obviously just going to run into errors. I think that all the new car deliveries are going to stay at the 2 new dealerships, and then as we need to, Neil's employees will shuttle those cars back and forth. So I think the only vehicles that we would expect making deliveries at the site would be the car transport ones, which is like a 1-ton dump truck size with the 3 cars on it. There'll be no full-size car carriers making deliveries.
Okay, and we'll make sure that they're not on the street loading and unloading. I want that to be clear. I'm sure John will have some comments around the drainage. There's one other. So you have one, I know a lot of the dealerships now have the drive-in, drive-out type garages. This is showing all on one side. You just plan driving in, backing up.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Again, because these would only be Patrick service technicians that would be grabbing a car from the parking lot, bringing it in, fixing whatever it might need, a tire or a brake line, and then putting it back out in the yard so it's flagged ready for sale that the salespeople can then shuttle it to the dealership.
I do have a concern with the parking near the office if you're going to be backing vehicles up in front of the ADA as well as the 4 other spots.
Right, but again, there's no public ever at this facility. It'll be fenced, it'll be gated. We won't even tell somebody, oh, the Passat you want to see is down at 5 St. Mark Street. The Patricks would send somebody down, a runner down to get that car. So it would only be the guys in the garages shuffling cars, and that would be their parking along the office area. So it's not like there's general public that would be here that's unfamiliar with the operation.
I didn't see a gate on this. Maybe I missed it. Is it shown on the plan?
I believe it's on sheet 3.
Okay, yep, sliding fence.
Yep.
A chain link fence. And only proposed at the drive lane.
Nope, it's proposed all along the frontage there's temporary construction fence there now. So we would propose to replace that along the frontage and then add it at the gate. And then there's already a fence at the abutter parcel 38 to our right. He already has a newer black vinyl chain link fence that runs that property line, the southern property line that divides us, tying into that.
So you do show the fence on the street. There's no intent to try to correct that.
Yeah, so it's following the top of that retaining wall that's there. So putting it on our property would put it at the bottom of the retaining wall, which honestly wouldn't do anybody any good. So the thought was to put it at the top of wall where it belongs per building code, since the wall is over 4 feet high. So somebody's not falling off St. Mark Street down into the site.
Is there anyone from the public that has any comments? Anyone online? Did you have anything to add, Adam?
No, we got the various comments back yesterday. So they'll need to make those minor corrections, and I haven't had any comments from any of the other town departments. So as far as I'm aware, they're good. We met with DCG about 2 months ago, maybe, or you left.
Yeah, maybe June.
Concerns by the department heads in attendance. So.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question? I assume you did do this, but I assume you did auto turn analysis in terms of in and out of the driveway as well as around the site for both fire apparatus as well as the car haulers.
Yes.
Everything works out.
Yep. Yeah, we have auto turn on our CAD, and we can select any hundreds of different vehicles and run them through.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you did it and everything works out.
Absolutely. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
The utility lines, so we see 2 underground, the gas one and the and the electric one. Have you had conversations with National Grid and Eversource?
No, so there's an existing gas service that was there from when the sports dome was there. Obviously, I'm sure that's been cut and capped. I did find, and Adam helped me with some record information from when stuff was cut and capped, as did Joanna at DPW. So we're proposing new services in for that. And then for electric, we're actually proposing a pole just below the retaining wall so that we can come overhead to that and then run underground to the building. But it took us 56 weeks to get power at Mazda, so we're very familiar with National Grid and their process.
No, I think the sports facilities requirements on the electricity might be different from. I think yours might be a little higher, right? So
Yeah, we're thinking just a pole-mounted transformer for a 400 amp service overhead. I mean, the biggest thing we're going to have in there for draw is probably an air compressor. The office area would be a ductless mini split heating system, and then just some gas-fired unit heaters to keep the shop. It's not air conditioned. So I think really probably the biggest breaker we'll need is the compressor, followed by some miscellaneous outlets for the lifts and for hand tools.
So again, the comment that we haven't seen the engineer's
Yeah,
report.
totally understand.
We'll look to continue this. You've heard some of our feedback. Hopefully that helps.
Yep. Yeah, but
You till the next meeting. Excellent. Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Marka?
Aye.
Steve, myself, aye. So we'll continue it till next meeting.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can wrap it up next meeting because we are trying to get things going this construction season. And I know it's only September, but I'm already starting to worry about snow. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Enjoy. All right. Next applicant on the agenda, applicant Sean Griffin of Griffin Homes LLC, requesting site plan review under section 3.2.21 or .1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for a two-family residence at 17 Willis Street, map 6, parcel 210, continued from the August 10th meeting. Do we have the applicant here?
It looks like they're online.
Oh,
Yes, I'm dialed in.
okay, please state your name.
Sean Griffin.
Hi, Sean, do you want to tell us anything about this project?
Yeah, so actually I don't know if my engineer got in touch with anyone, but I believe we're going to want to continue to the next hearing because we're not through the Conservation Commission yet with our request for an order of conditions. And I believe we wanted to have that all finalized before we went before the planning board.
Okay, we can certainly accommodate if you'd like to continue. We can make that motion.
I'll make a motion to continue to the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote to Arakesh. Bob?
Aye.
Myself, Steve Chambers, that's an aye, and we'll continue this to the next meeting and hopefully get through conservation. Thank you very much. All right,
All right, thank you.
excellent. Next on the agenda, applicant J.M. Cooley, Inc., Jim Fabry, requesting site plan approval under section 3.2.7.0 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for distribution facility at 190 Washington Street, Auburn, Mass, map 34, parcel 4. We've been notified that they'd like to ask for a continuance.
Correct. I received new plans the other day. The updated traffic studies with VHB for their second review, and the engineering is with Graves for their review. So hopefully we'll get everything back in the next week or so for the next meeting.
Do I have a motion to continue?
Make the motion to continue to the next meeting.
I'll second it. Aye.
Aye.
Steve Chambers, that's an aye. We'll continue to the next meeting. Next on the agenda, items up for discussion. We have the decommissioning bond for the billboards at 375 Southbridge Street. I'm sorry, 365 Southbridge Street. We were provided. Adam, do you have any input on this one?
Yes, so the numbers before you, the total of the amount I sent to DPW, they did not, never received any comments from them regarding this. I did receive an okay from town council on the amount. Been discussing with town council and the applicant's lawyer, Mark Bernstein, about some of the language for the bond. Mark could explain a little bit in detail what we're looking to do. But we are on the discussion with town council to make sure the bond is okay, and they will have final, approval, assuming that the board wants to move forward with the bond and the amount. We'll make sure that the wording is going to be good on both ends before the town manager signs it.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Certainly. For the record, Mark Borenstein. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Bowditch and Dewey in Worcester, representing Outfront Media, LLC. As Mr. Menard indicated, we've been working with the town over the last couple of weeks to come to terms in terms of the bond to provide security for the decommissioning and the removal of the proposed billboards that were approved by the planning board at the meeting on April 27th of this year. Before you, I believe, is the decommissioning estimate that was prepared. You'll see that there is specific work related to labor, related to the removal and the dismantling of the structures and the related signs, the equipment rentals, and also the removal for a total cost of $30,000. There's also included a contingency of 10%. And then in order to calculate the potential increases based on inflation, we've added 2% annually for a total decommissioning amount of $48,074.77. So that would be the proposed bond amount that would be granted to the surety company. So the surety company would issue a bond payable to the town. We're currently working with the surety company to finalize that language. So as Mr. Menard indicated, we've exchanged emails with town council through Mr. Menard to ensure that the requisite language that's acceptable to town council is included in the bond. So it's more so the surety companies have their set forms, so we're asking them to modify their forms to address town council's recommended language. So we would respectfully request that the planning board approve the amount of the bond and the proposed surety bond, subject to the finalizing the form acceptable to the town planner and town council. Thank you.
No questions.
We want to make a motion to accept this based on town council's acceptance of the language.
I'll make a motion to.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
I will roll call vote, sorry. Duarkesh?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, that's an aye. So we have approved the bond in the amount of $48,074.77, contingent on the language that's acceptable to the town council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. For the next item up for discussion, the fall meeting, proposed zoning changes. And this, again, will go to Adam. Did you want to start with table and uses?
Yes, thank you. So we're proposing, working for the past year and a half really on these couple of zoning changes. Initially, we were hoping to bring them to the May town meeting 2020 until COVID hit and kind of halt on all this. So the table of uses and descriptions, there's a lot going on there, but it's kind of a proactive attempt to create new opportunities for economic development, tries to modernize the language, simplify some of the language, eliminates some uses that really aren't in existence anymore, such as a telephone answering service. I don't think they'll really exist as businesses anymore. And it adds several new types of businesses such as biotech, breweries, makerspace. So the table use and description are paired. They kind of work hand in hand. So I guess the real intent of these is economic development, and also there's been a lot of planning the last couple of years. There's been a lot of public outreach with the master plan, the zoning diagnostic, several other plans. So we've heard from the public that they want to see different kinds of businesses, want to see a strong tax base. So this is kind of a proactive attempt to hopefully encourage that economic development. So what I'm looking for the planning board to do with these tonight, you can take them individually. So I'm looking for the planning board to sponsor these proposals for town meeting. Last night, the Board of Selectmen sent these to the planning board for the public hearing. Public hearing will take place at the next meeting. So ideally, I'm looking for tonight, just sponsoring the articles for town meeting. So if you have questions on the table.
Question I had, Adam, on the the electric vehicle charging stations, that standard that we're adding there. So that would reflect back to Article 3.2.5.15. I'm looking at, so if we look at 3.2.3.4, so library or museum, the standards and conditions that electrical vehicle charging stations are allowed as accessory use, would that then refer to the other one?
Not really. No, those two are for town properties. We're actually looking to install a couple electric service stations at Town Hall and other places. This just kind of formalizes what we're trying to do in language and the zoning. I don't think there's anything currently existing that would prevent them being installed. It's just, I think, just add some language, trying to be proactive, because I think more electric vehicles are coming in the future.
They're proposing those as the chargeable ones or personal use ones?
Both. We're still working out the kinks. The town's looking to potentially buy a couple electric vehicles the next couple of years. We have several vehicles that are used by different departments. They would be used to charge during, I think, office hours. And also be, if they're not being used by a town vehicle, they'd be open to the public. So it'd be both for town and public use.
No questions.
Do we want to take these one at a time and take a recommendation to, is it sponsor?
Sponsor, yes.
Take a recommendation to sponsor the table of uses and descriptions?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
A second. Aye.
Aye.
Steve Chambers, that's an aye as well. So we'll sponsor first one. The height regulations, do we have a motion to sponsor that?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, I'll second it.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Chambers, that's an aye. We will sponsor that as well. And then the animal bylaw, did we want to, anyone have any discussion on this? Okay, I'll take a motion to sponsor that one as well.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Aye.
Aye.
It's an aye as well.
Thank you. And again, this will be next meeting. There'll be the official public hearing, where at that point the board would hear from the public. I expect there to be people to comment on these at that time, and it'll be for the board to recommend or not recommend to the town meeting the approval of the bylaws.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, meeting minutes from 8/10/2021. Anyone have any questions or comments? All right, do we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Aye.
Aye.
Amber, that's an aye. So I'll accept those minutes. New business unforeseen by the chair. I don't have anything. Do you have anything to add?
I'll make this one note. The second October meeting, October 26th, is town meeting. So normally boards don't usually meet that night, so I don't think this board should have the meeting the night of town meeting. I know at least a couple of you are town meeting members, so you can't be in two places at once. So I think we'll forego that particular meeting.
Okay, we'll take a vote on that next time. Excellent. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? All right, so our next meeting is 9/28/2021. I'll take a
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Steve, that's an aye. This meeting is adjourned.